Greetings to all. Today I am going to deliver a talk on rural economy and rural development. In my presentation, I will focus on two major issues. My first point concerns with the introduction about the characteristics of rural economy, objectives of rural development, and scope of rural development. Next, I will focus on the need, importance, and significance for rural development. First of all, I would like to give you an overview of rural economy and characteristics of rural economy. What is rural economy? Rural economy is the study of rural economies, including farm and non-farm industry, economic growth, development and change, size and spatial distribution of production and household units, and inter-regional trade, land use, housing and non-housing as to supply and demand, migration and population, finance, government policies as to development, investment, regulation, and transportation. What are the characteristics of rural economy? Rural economy is characterized by primary sector and allied activities. Rural economy is basically a producer's economy. Rural economy is a country of villages. Agriculture is the main occupation. Agriculture is the fundamental occupation of the rural people and farms, the basis of rural economy. A farmer has to perform various agricultural activities for which he needs the cooperation of other members. Usually, these members are from his family. Thus, the members of the entire family share agricultural activities. Underdeveloped agriculture, in terms of methods of production, social organization, and political mobilization, rural sector is extremely backward and weak. Indebted farmers. People in rural areas are highly indebted owing to poverty and underdevelopment, lack of farm and non-farm employment opportunities, low wage employment, seasonality in production, poor marketing networks, etc. Rural cottage industries. Village and cottage industries also have been traditionally an important part of rural economy. Problem of poverty. According to 2011-12 estimates, about 22 crores of people in rural areas are poor and live below the poverty line. Illiterate people. Public services like education, housing, health and sanitation, transport and communication, banking, roads, and markets are limited and unavailable. Rural people rely much on faith, superstitions, and traditional cultural practices. The standards of living of majority of rural people are poor and pitiable. Problem of unemployment. There exists unemployment, seasonal unemployment, and underemployment in rural areas. Size of the community. As the village communities are small, the population is also low. Impact of caste system. The rural society social stratification is a traditional characteristic based on caste. The rural society is divided into various strata on the basis of caste. Density of population. As the density of population is low, the people have close relationship and face-to-face contacts with each other. In a village, everyone knows everyone. Close contact with nature. The rural people are in close contact with nature as most of their daily activities rotate around the natural environment. Homogeneity of population. The village communities are homogeneous in nature. Most of the people are connected with agriculture and its allied occupations. Another characteristic feature of rural society is the joint family system. The family controls the behavior of individuals. Migration. Rural people are forced to migrate from villages to urban areas in order to seek gainful employment for their livelihood. Now, I will focus on rural development. Rural development is a strategy designed to improve the economic and social life of rural people. Rural development means overall development of rural areas with a view to improve the quality of life of rural people. In short, rural development is a process that aims at improving the standard of living of the people living in rural areas. I would like to raise briefly about the objectives of rural development to develop farm, home, public services and village community to bring improvement in producing of crops and animals living condition to improve health and education condition etc. Improvement of rural people to improve villages with their own efforts to improve village communication, development of agriculture and allied activities, development of village and cottage industries and handicrafts, development of socio-economic infrastructure which includes setting up of rural banks, cooperatives, schools, etc. Development of community services and facilities, that is drinking water, electricity, rural roads, health services, etc. And development of human resource mobilization. Next, we will shift on to the scope of rural development. Rural development is a dynamic process which is mainly concerned with the rural areas. These include agricultural growth, economic and social infrastructure, fair wages, housing for the landless, village planning, public health, education and literacy, communication, etc. I would like to discuss about the need for rural development. Rural development is a national necessity and has considerable importance in India because of the following reasons. About three-fourths of India's population live in rural areas. Nearly half of the country's national income is derived from agriculture. Around 70% of Indian population get employment through agriculture. Bulk of raw materials for industries come from agriculture and rural sector. Increase in industrial population can be justified only in rural population's motivation and increasing the purchasing power of to buy industrial goods and growing disparity between the urban elite and the rural people can lead to political instability. Finally, I would like to address the importance and significance of rural development to develop rural area as whole in terms of culture, society, economy, technology and health, to develop standard of living of rural mass, to develop rural youths, children and women, to develop and empower human resource of rural area in terms of their psychology, skill, knowledge, attitude, and other abilities to solve the problems faced by rural masses for their development, to develop infrastructure facility of rural area, to provide minimum facility to rural mass in terms of drinking water, education, transport, electricity, and communication to develop rural institutions like panchayat, cooperatives, post, banking, and credit to develop rural industries through the development of handicrafts, small-scale industries, village industries, rural crafts, cottage industries, and other related economic operations in the rural sector to develop agriculture, animal husbandry, and other agricultural related areas to restore uncultivated land, provide irrigation facilities, and to motivate farmers to adopt improved seed, fertilizers, package of practices of crop cultivation and soil conservation methods to develop entertainment and recreational facility for rural mass to develop leadership quality of rural area, to improve rural marketing facility, to minimize gap between the urban and rural in terms of facilities availed, to improve rural people's participation in the development of state and nation as whole, to improve scope of employment for rural mass, for the sustainable development of rural area, to eliminate rural poverty, to empower them. Improvement of the quality of rural people is the important agenda of rural development program. In India, a country where the number of people living in rural areas, rural development program is necessary aspect. Rural development implies both the economic betterment of people as well as greater social economic transformation. The basic objectives of all rural development programs has been the welfare of the millions, to provide the rural people with the better prospects of economic development. I hope you understand the topic related to the overview of rural economy and rural development, characteristics of rural economy, objectives of rural development, scope of rural development, need, importance, and significance for rural development. Thank you.